out. And the reason I chose this topic, and I'm going to explain more what it means to live life from the inside out, is because I believe that when we do turn inward, when we do actually live life more from the inside out, it actually heals a lot of our issues. So I have people writing in and saying they have issues with their health or issues with depression, or asking, how do you heal depression? How do you heal this? Or maybe they have issues like with other people and people pleasing and so on. I feel that when we truly learn to live life from the inside out, or what I mean by living life from the inside out, it resolves a lot of these other issues. It's almost like a one size fits all. It's a one answer that answers a lot of different questions. So here's what I mean about living life from the inside out. We are currently bombarded with information coming at us from the outside world. People who are particularly sensitive, people who are closer to being empaths, people who don't know where their own boundaries end and others begin. A lot of us get this sense, this feeling of sensory overload. It's like our senses are being bombarded from the outside world, and we take it on as though it's our own. I'd love to hear from you if anybody relates to that. Do you relate to taking on the problems of the world, the emotions of the people around you, everything that's happening? Do you relate to taking it on as though it's your own? That it's almost like you can't separate between what's happening outside and what's actually yours. What are your emotions being generated by what you are going through versus everything else that's coming in from the outside world and affecting you? I mean, I guess the best analogy I can use is that if you imagine something like the light coming in from a little flashlight. And for most people, that's all it is. It's a little flashlight, and if it's daylight, they can almost walk past this little flashlight or this light that's on without even noticing that a light is on. But for some of us, even that little light feels like a floodlight. It's almost like we can't differentiate between the light that's shining at us from a little flashlight and a light that's shining at us from a huge flashlight that's actually drowning us in light. You know, it's like completely encompassing us. And I don't know if that's a good analogy, but somebody who suffers from sensory overload, like somebody who is an empath, super sensitive, it feels like they're drowning in not just information, but in feelings, emotions, sensations, and there's conflict within their emotions. And people who feel that way are usually most susceptible to things like physical illnesses and challenges, as well as things like depression. And that's because we can't differentiate the outside world from the inside world. Living life from the inside out means giving priority to your inner world as opposed to the outer world. And I want to talk a little bit more about how to do that. And I actually believe anyone would benefit from doing that, whether you suffer from sensory overload or not, whether you're super sensitive or not, whether you're an empath or not, it doesn't matter. If you're suffering from any kind of physical challenges, emotional challenges, the best way to heal them, and if you're suffering from depression, is to really start to learn how to tune inwards. So if you imagine yourself as let's say a smartphone, and I use this analogy quite often. If you imagine you're a smartphone, when you're a smartphone, your batteries need to be charged. They need to be charged frequently, otherwise your batteries drain. But even while you're not in charge mode, while you're using your smartphone, the more apps you have on, the faster the batteries discharge. So this is the way it is for us. The apps that are draining our own batteries are things like being super sensitive, experiencing sensory overload, doing things that stimulate our senses more than necessary. So what I would suggest that you start by doing is you start by asking yourself, what are the things that are really blowing my senses out of all proportion? In other words, what's making me feel deep anger or deep sadness or depression, or drawing me into other people's dramas? And it means really being honest with yourself and identifying these things so that you can start turning off those apps that are draining you. It means saying no when you mean no instead of saying yes when you actually mean no. So the first thing to do is start turning off those apps that are running in the background, which some of them maybe you're not even consciously aware are running in the background. You're not consciously aware and they're just running and they're just draining your batteries. So as you learn to turn them off, so here are the things to look for. Where are you saying yes when you actually would have preferred to have said no? Who are the people that are constantly drawing you into their dramas? And they could be people who you love, who are really people who care about you. So this is not about judging them, but where are you constantly getting sucked into their dramas when they probably wouldn't even be offended if you took time out for yourself, if you said you were busy, I can't join you today, I can't spend the day with you, because you want to go and recharge your batteries. So also, do you watch too much news on TV? Do you watch too much political discussion? And people tell me that, but if I don't watch the news, how do I stay on top of current affairs? So I find there's two types of news you can tune into. You can tune into global news once a week and you will find out everything that's going on, even twice a week. But what we call news in America is actually political gossip. It really is. And it is churned out every day for the purpose of injecting fear and separating you or separating us as humans. So always remember, we are humans first. We are not our political party and all, but the news channels thrive on separating us. And for those of you who take this on personally, it's draining your batteries. So stop watching it. Stop feeling that people are their political labels or belong to a particular political party. We are humans first before any label. We are humans first. Remember that. So anyway, turn off the news if it's affecting you. And so the first thing is to go in and identify everything that's affecting you, the apps that are running in the background that are draining your batteries, and start turning them off. That's number one. Number two is to ensure that you recharge your batteries every day. So most of us who are drained, who are lost, who are in depression, who are feeling physical illness, we are not doing either of those things. And I'm going to get to a third thing soon. So how do we recharge our batteries? We recharge our batteries by turning inward and listening to our inner self. Listen to and watch the visions that come to you. So you could be getting insights and visions while you're in the shower. You could be getting it just before you drop off to sleep. You get insights and visions when you go for a walk in nature. You need to take time to do these things. Even when you sit and meditate, when you spend time by yourself. I get a lot of visions when I listen to music and when I'm out in nature and even when I'm having a hot bath. For me, sitting in a hot bathtub gives me a lot of visions and insights, especially if I have candles on, and music. Music is another great one for me, and walking in nature. Being by the ocean, listening to the ocean waves. All these recharge my batteries. And how they do that is that I may put out a question and then I get the imagery and the visions and voices, and I feel the guidance telling me how to deal with my current issue. I get the guidance on how to move forward. I get the guidance on what it really is. It's the connection to that higher self, that person I was before I even came into this physical body, that higher self that lives forever. It lived before I was born.